Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well today. And in this video I'm going to be talking about my experience trying marijuana and what it was like for me and how I feel about it currently. So, of course, when I was younger I'd always heard about it in school, the DARE program, they talked about it and they always demonized it, made it seem like it was bad along with the other drugs. And I didn't really think much of it back then, but when I got older, I had heard that it was good for people with medical problems, certain medical disabilities and stuff. It was really good for them, and they were prescribed it. The medical marijuana. So I heard that it was really good, and then I found out that some autistic people actually liked it or it helped them with their anxiety, and I also found out that certain strains anyhow were good for being social. And of course, I'm not very social a lot of times. I get nervous talking to people face to face. And of course, I consider that what I call it is reverse stage fright. I have no problem going up to a crowd full of hundreds or thousands or heck even millions of people if I ever got the chance and talking to them. But talking to people face to face really makes me nervous, and it's not a fun experience for me. So the idea that this could actually help me be social, be more sociable and more outgoing sounded really good for me, and my family thought that would be a good idea for me. So I reached out, or when we got legalized here in Michigan, I reached out to one of my family members that does, they do marijuana because they had a medical problem in the military, so they have to do marijuana now to help themselves. So, they told me, I told them about me, and if asked if it might help, and they said, yeah, it sounded like it would be a good idea for me to try. So they came over and they gave me some edibles to try, and it was just a small little dose. I think it was just like half of a gummy or chocolate thing or something. I can't remember. This was about 5 years ago, so it was quite a while ago. I don't remember every single specific, but yeah, so I tried it, and I remember at the time, my family members stayed with me just to see how I react, how it would affect me, so I had family nearby making sure I was going to be okay. And I remember not really feeling too much the first time I tried it. In fact, I don't think I really felt much at all. And so I thought, it wasn't really that great. I didn't really have much of an opinion on it. So, I had later on that night, after my relative went home and stuff, and then later on that night, I took another piece of the marijuana, because I thought, the edible, I should say, and I wanted to try it, or to try some more to see if I could actually get high and actually feel anything. And that turned out to be a major mistake, because I didn't even take that much, but I went back to my room after I took it, and I just was, sitting on the computer reading stuff, and then I'm going to describe it the best way I can, and hopefully you can understand it at least a little bit. So what I can describe was I remember looking at something on my computer, I was reading something, and then all of a sudden, it was 1 second I was perfectly fine, and the next second I remember it felt like I was sinking into an ocean or into a body of water, and it was so weird. It was kind of like deja vu, almost as if I almost felt like I felt this before, even though I've never, done drugs before that time. And it was such a weird, kind of scary feeling in a way, because it was just so weird. It felt familiar, but I knew it was new, and it's I felt like I was sinking almost. I was sitting in my chair, and even though I was physically sitting in my chair, I felt like I was just sinking down. It was so weird and just odd to me. So then I decided I was going to play my game and record myself playing my game, so that way when I got sober I would watch my video and stuff to see how I sounded and how my game looked. So I remember I was playing, everything was fine for a while. I was still kind of just relaxing, I guess, and just feeling the high, and all of a sudden I remember I was playing my game, everything was fine, I was kind of mumbling to myself, I guess, and then all of a sudden I blacked out for a couple seconds, I think, I don't remember anything, and then I woke up, or I opened my eyes, and my heart was pounding so hard, and I was scared so much, because I didn't know what had just happened. I didn't know if I had a medical problem, if something just happened, And so I got freaked out. I stopped playing the game. I stopped recording and everything. And so I ran downstairs to talk to my dad. He was in the garage, and I told him that I took an extra piece of the marijuana, or the edible, and he was kind of upset, of course, because, you know, he didn't know I was going to take it. But he was mostly just concerned because he didn't know if something was wrong with me. I just told him that I was really, like, kind of dizzy and really, I guess, high, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So at first he wanted to call an ambulance because he didn't know if something was wrong with me. And I told him no, I wasn't hurting or nothing was bad. I was just kind of, you know, in that state that I just was very weird. And I told him what happened, that I guess I had passed out or blacked out or whatever it is. And that was horrifying. But, you know, I just decided to come back upstairs to my room, and then I was gonna excuse me, I was gonna just lay down, you know, and lay in my bed. That way I wouldn't have to worry about walking around and, you know, doing any kind of, you know, worry, you know, because I didn't want to, my dad was worried that if I was going to walk up and down the stairs that I might fall, so he wanted me to just lay in bed. So I just laid in bed trying to relax and try not to think too much. And then here's where the paranoia really starts. You know, I'm sure if you know much about weed, you know that there's like a big paranoia thing about it. And I had heard about that, of course, before I even tried it. But man, that paranoia is so real, because as, you know, a few minutes while I was laying down, everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, I could have swore that I heard my dad talking from downstairs. And I could have swore it sounded like he was calling an ambulance. And that was crazy, because I as soon as I heard it, I ran downstairs to tell my dad, no, I'm okay, I'm not hurt, blah, blah, blah. And then I went downstairs and I couldn't find him. He wasn't there. I think he was back in the garage. And I was so freaked out. I'm like, are you serious? I just imagined that whole thing. It was pretty scary. And, yeah, so it turned out he didn't call an ambulance. Everything was fine. And so eventually, you know, I was fine. I just laid in bed more. And so then I tried, you know, I decided I did not want any more of that edible anymore, so we threw that out. Or I think maybe we gave it back to my relative that gave it to me, I can't remember, but we got rid of that. But then I decided I still wanted to try some more, because I thought maybe it could still be good, you know, but maybe I'd try a different strand of it, or whatever they call it. So we went to a dispensary in Ann Arbor, because that was like the closest one to us. And we got some more edibles, some different strands, or different, you know, whatever, different stuff than what I had. And so we tried that, or I tried some of that, but it really wasn't much different. You know, still wasn't enjoying it, still didn't feel comfortable. Another way I would describe it is, I remember sitting on my bed and I was like so confused as to who I was, where I was, so I had to keep telling myself my name and everything about me. I was like, it was such a scary thing, because I started forgetting basic stuff that you should always know, and it was just not a good feeling. Like, the best way I could describe it, at least the way I could think of it, was like, it felt like my brain was in a, like, you know how you've seen, you know, laundromats or something with a washing machine that's like, you can see through it and you can see the clothes getting all mushed around and stuff and all that. Yeah, I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about. So the best way I thought of it was like, my brain was like somehow turning around in some kind of washing machine. It's like, part of me was still like thinking clearly, but then the other part of me was not. And it's like, it was just so crazy. It felt horrible. Like, and I remember sometimes I was walking around the house, so I couldn't even remember where I was going. I was, you know, it was not a good experience for me at all. And eventually I just decided, yep, this is my last time doing it. I just laid in bed to hopefully get myself to feel better. And it was a horrible, horrible experience. Never again, never, ever, ever doing that again. And that is how I feel about it today. I tried it. I got to experience it. It did make me more sociable. It didn't make me anything but made me freaked out and paranoid and uncomfortable. And like dizzy and just nothing good. The only good thing I will say about the marijuana that I did like was the smell of it, because I remember when we went to get those edibles at the dispensary, I wanted to get just a small little bit of the flower just so I could, say that I had a piece of like actual weed, not just the edible. So I bought the smallest amount of weed that they had, and I actually remember loving the smell of it. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the smell of it, but I remember thinking the smell actually smelled really good. It was kind of calming. And I actually looked up online to find out if you could get high or if you could get some kind of thing from just smelling it, but apparently not. But I remember just like every now and then I'd take it out, and just smell it for a minute, and it actually smelled good. It calmed me down. So I don't know, I guess that was the only good thing about marijuana that I experienced, was just a good smell from the, the flower itself, or, whatever it's called. But I don't know, I'm never doing that again. I didn't smoke it because smoking's bad for your lungs, so I knew if I was ever going to try marijuana, it would never be smoking, because, yeah, I don't need that. So that was my experience. That's what it was like for me. And hope it helped in some way. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And if not, I'll see y'all in the next video. Thank you.